Welcome to another episode of the Quip and Convo segment. Today I'll be having a really special guest. All my guests are special, but you'll see what I mean after you read her bio. Join us in the Quip Corner for an engaging conversation. Welcome. Why don't I start with Happy New Year? Happy New Year and welcome to the Quip Corner, Dr. Valerie.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you for asking me.
You're welcome. So with our different correspondence, I sent you a couple of quips to choose from. And if I remember correctly, you chose Quip 62. That's in my first book. So I'll read it out and then turn it over to you to...
Yes, please do, because I have no memory of which one I picked. So this will be a surprise for me.
Sounds good. Quip 62 says, the fact that something is difficult doesn't mean that it is impossible.
That's a very good quip. I like that. I especially like it because, as you know, my expertise is imposter syndrome. And I find that so often people feel like in order to be considered competent, things have to come naturally, innately, easy, effortlessly. They feel like they should have come out of the womb knowing how to do advanced calculus or how to write a dissertation or how to start a business or whatever it might be. And the fact that they might have to struggle to understand something or master something in their mind just proves they must be an imposter. So it really fundamentally comes back to having this unrealistic, unsustainable expectations for themselves about what it means to be competent. So absolutely, there's so many things that are difficult, but not impossible. Sidney Poitier, I've just been so enjoying listening to these old interviews with him. And the fact that he was kind of tossed out of, I don't know if it was theater school or an audition, and like shown the door and said, you can't act.
Yes.
And that he's like, okay. And he, learned how to read through the help of somebody who just volunteered to help him learn how to read so he could read scripts. And he practiced and he worked on his, diction and so on. And just said, and he did it, right? So it took a lot of effort, determination, but clearly not impossible. And look what he's done.
Sure. Yeah. You're spot on when you talk about people saying, well, if I didn't come with this out of my mother's womb, then maybe it's not for me. So what do you say to people who come with that attitude?
Yeah, well, let me be clear. I think we all do have things that come more easily to us. I'm very good with directions. I'm very visual. I can picture directions. I will remember your story for the rest of my life, but I would probably forget names because it's the story that I remember. So I like to tell people I'm really good at maybe 3 things. I'm okay at 5 or 6 other things, and I suck at everything else. And I'm good with that because I think I'm trying to have kind of a healthy attitude about competence and realistic expectation for ourselves. But I find often, especially people who want to start their own business, they're looking for something that they feel, passionate about. And so they find this thing they're excited about because the idea being, it won't even feel like work. It'll feel like play when you find your passion. So they start working on it. And then all of a sudden, it feels like work, right? They have to get a website up, or they have to get a bookkeeper, or they're going to run into something that is hard, that's not going to feel like play. And they're going to go, oh, it must not be my passion. And so they start over and go find something else. At some point, I love speaking in front of 2,000 people on a stage. Do I love getting stuck in the airport and getting home at 2 a.m. from a long flight? No. But you do the things you don't like to do to get to do the things that you do like to do.
Ooh, now that is a quip.
There you go.
That is so nicely put. it's almost like that trade-off. Do you really, really want this? Then this is the path you need to take to get there.
Absolutely.
Nice.
And I think we've got this false notion that success is like this straight line. Your listeners, your viewers might want to Google Princeton professor failure CV. The guy has this clearly very impressive CV from being a tenured Princeton professor, but he also posted his failure CV, the jobs he didn't get, the publications that rejected his submission, the conferences that rejected him. Because again, I think we have this notion that success is a straight line, when in reality, success is more like this. So it's kind of what you do with challenge and adversity that really matters.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, wow. Thank you. So I'm curious, because a lot of people will be like, she's an expert in imposter syndrome. Who does that? How does someone do that? And why even?
Why? That's a good question. Why? Well, I guess, I'm going to start with why. It's because I strongly identified. I was getting my doctorate at the university where my mom also worked. My mother was a second shift custodian at the time. I was first generation in my family to go to 4 years of college, and certainly to go on and get an advanced degree. Thank you. And I think all graduate students feel like imposters, other students as well, but just almost by definition feel like imposters. So when I found out about this thing called the imposter phenomenon, as it is more accurately known, it's not really a medical diagnosable, psychological condition.
Yes.
I just immediately identified. And I've always had this desire to, when something's up for me and I'm trying to figure it out, I want to understand it. And then I figure other people, maybe they want to understand it too. So I researched not so much imposter syndrome in graduate school, but women's self-limiting attitudes and behaviors. And I had not only was it a highly interracial group of subjects, but it was a majority women of color. And that was not typically done, in the early 1980s. So I feel like I got a pretty good representation. And I started leading workshops on it because I'm not a psychologist. I like to put together activities to help people look at how this is operating in their life and give them more insight and understanding. I'm not an academic, so I'm not doing like heavy academic research into imposter syndrome. People like Kevin Coakley at University of Texas, who's done a lot of work on imposter syndrome among especially people of color, and others, they're doing the academic research. Mine, much more over the years, is just being kind of out there working with a very wide cross section of people from very different fields and experiences globally, and just starting to understand that their experience and then capture that and share what I'm learning with other people.
Wow. Well, thank you for doing that. I mean, because when I read some of your articles or listen to interviews, I'm energized and I'm like, yes, I can do this. So thank you for all the work you're putting into that, and, sharing your lived experience and just helping everyone, give us all a hand up versus a hand down or hand out even. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, my mantra is that everybody loses when bright people play small. And so, we have to pay attention to imposter syndrome because there are costs and consequences, not just for ourselves, financial, psychological, but also when we hold back and play small, the world loses out on our gifts and talents.
That is true. Well, thank you again for joining me in the Quip Corner. I really appreciate it, Dr. Valerie.
I'm so glad you made this happen. Thanks for reaching out.
You're welcome. Did you hear what she said? Yes. Everyone loses when bright people play small. You are a bright person, so please keep stepping up to the plate. And even if it is difficult, remember, it's not impossible. Until we catch up again in the Quip Corner, you take care. Bye now.